slides. Uh, once again, I want to talk about multi-cloud and how you can use multi-cloud to future-proof your business excellence, right? Now, um, last year I was in this very stage and we talked about how multi-cloud is the new normal, right? You have applications running on your, on-prem, on Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, or even, on partner clouds such as Safaricom Cloud, for example, right? How many people here know that Safaricom has a cloud? How many people use it? 1, 2, 3, 4. More hands up, please, yeah? We need to support local, right? Plus, with guys like Safaricom Cloud, you don't get to pay in dollars, you pay in shillings. So you save a lot of money that way. Anyways, Kelly, why does this say 16 minutes left? Cool. So, my first thing today, cloud smart, right? You've heard about multi-cloud, AWS were here today. You've heard about software as a service, CX, etc. Freshworks were here today. Moses was talking about cloud as well, etc. And there's a lot that goes into cloud projects, cloud migrations, etc. But how do you really get cloud smart? And what do I mean by cloud smart? So when organizations initially started to move to the cloud or to have a cloud-based strategy, right? They decided initially we're going to become cloud first. So all new applications, by default, we're going to push them to the cloud. It makes sense. It's easier to scale up, scale down, and we get better reliability in the cloud, in say AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, wherever it is, right? But with that, they started coming across something called cloud chaos. You have so many disparate points of control. You have so many different operating manuals, if I may put it that way, right? And all that leads to is complexity. So what happened after that is guys decided, okay, hold on, let's take a step back. Let's understand, how do we get cloud smart? And essentially, there are 5 core elements to a cloud smart approach, right? So the first one is you need to accelerate app delivery, cloud native applications, right? You need to focus on accelerating how fast you put your app into production, how fast your developers are able to commit code into the pipeline, right? The second bit that you need to do is I need to, you think about how do I modernize my infrastructure? Infrastructure does not only mean on-prem, right? Infrastructure means any cloud instance, any compute instance, wherever it runs, any storage, wherever it's located, whether it's on-prem, whether it's one of the hyperscalers, whether it's in Safaricom's data center or Airtel's or wherever it is, right? So that's the second bit that you need to consider is, how do I modernize my cloud infrastructure to take advantage of the latest trends and innovations in technology? The third thing that you need to consider is delivering autonomous workspaces. This horse has been beaten to death about how guys started working from home during COVID, etc., which, by the way, anybody read the news this morning? So there's another flu that's popped up in China. Mtarudi kuvaa mask. Simli kata. On the flip side, we might get a tax cut, so. Yeah, so, but the ability to work from pretty much anywhere, that needs to be central of how you architect your cloud. The ability to be able to log into your management and operating systems without major security issues. Whether that's somebody logging in from their cell phone, from their tablet, from the office, from home, if they're traveling from the airport, wherever it is, right? So that needs to be central. The fourth thing is something we call the software-defined edge. Now, last year I was in this very stage, and we talked about edge computing. I don't know if anybody remembers about edge computing, about how we are moving away from these big data centers to multiple centers of data, right? With more local compute, more local storage, and the ability to instantly take decisions, right? So that needs to be central to your, approach to multi-cloud and being cloud smart. Finally, AI innovation. Everything you do today has to have AI, central to it, pretty much. We've heard a lot about it from the speakers already, about generative AI and how it's impacting AWS mentioned, Freshworks mentioned it, Charles earlier, Moses mentioned this as well, along with Mbugua. So, it's not, what do you call it? It's not, they're not just talking about it for the sake of it, right? The organizations are actually using AI to increase and to give them a head start against their competitors and against their peers, right? And finally, it all needs to be underpinned by something that's called a cross-cloud approach, right? What do I mean by cross-cloud approach? A cross-cloud approach is one where you do not need to change your operating tools. You do not need to have additional skills. You do not need to, to invest in certain, say, capacity for specific cloud environments. You can use the same tools, the same people to manage both your on-prem environments, or if your environments are in a hyperscaler, to manage them there. And I know it's difficult, right? But this is coming up really fast, what the concept of cross-cloud services. Yeah, so if you can, if you are thinking about cloud today, you need to look at that, cross-cloud services. Now, what has led us to where we are today? A few years ago, or rather many years ago, you had PC applications that were pretty much driving, infrastructure on the back end. And for most people, PC apps were, the stuff that ran primarily, or rather that were developed primarily for on-prem data centers, right? So you buy a certain application from a vendor, you deploy the server side, in your data center, and then you have the client facing on people's machines, etc. Right? And that led to basically the first wave of infrastructure innovation. How do we make those applications serve the users faster? The second wave was web applications. And I would take this back to about 15 to 10 years ago, this wave of web-based applications when people started using HTML web-based technologies to deliver the applications to users instead of thick clients, right? The third wave was mobile applications. And mobile applications, I'd put it around about 10 years ago to now. And that led to people using more cloud technologies to, because it's easier to deploy a mobile app and deploy it in the cloud, where it scales up, scales down very easily based on demand from customers. But now we've got AI applications, right? And these are now driving infrastructure innovations. What do you mean by, how is AI different from the previous three? AI, first of all, it consumes a lot of capacity, right? The amount of data needed to train AI models, is way more than what most organizations can handle. Secondly, AI uses GPUs, graphical processing units, more than they would use CPUs, right? So that's really driving the next phase of infrastructure innovation, right? So what had happened is when people were deploying these applications, they used to deploy them in cloud silos. So you have your PC apps on-prem, you have your web apps, say on AWS, you have your mobile applications, and you found Google Cloud to be a better host for your mobile applications. And now, for your AI applications, you probably still want to say, probably Google has the best technology, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to use their TensorFlow framework for that, et cetera, et cetera. And what ends up happening is that you have a lot of complexity emerging from these silos, right? So with that complexity, you end up having a very high time to value, a very long time to value. The time between when you can actually, conceptualize an innovation, a business innovation, and deliver it to market increases exponentially. And somebody who probably doesn't have the same baggage as you is able to deliver on that a lot faster than you are. Secondly, there's a high risk of project failure because of the complexity associated with these silos. And finally, obviously, cost, right? So it's important, to have this cloud smart architecture. And, what I talked about earlier was cross-cloud services. What does a cross-cloud service architecture look like, you may ask, right? So a cross-cloud architecture is basically an architecture that doesn't care where the application is hosted. Cloud, it treats cloud as just another destination. And I hear people talk a lot about how cloud is a journey and not a destination. We hear that all the time, right? But maybe it's time to evolve that thinking. I'm not saying leave it. Evolve that thinking a bit, right? And think about it as cloud can be on-prem. It can be in my data center. It can be in a colo somewhere. It can be on AWS's local cloud, on Google Cloud, wherever it is, right? And you have a single consumption interface, regardless of where your applications reside. You can have some applications on-prem, some in hyperscalers, but a single consumption interface. It's time to start exploring infra as code, ISC, a lot more than we have been so far, because that's the next thing in terms of cloud consumption, right? The layer above that, the management and operations layer, that needs to evolve as well. You need to start looking at having, who can give me, or how can I build a single management console regardless of where my workloads are sitting, right? And finally, up above everything is then the application, and the applications need to be designed to be able to run wherever they are. And I think, in terms of that, we've come a long, long way with Kubernetes and, with containers in that they're very, very portable, right? So currently what you have is your applications are quite portable. Whatever you're developing, wherever you're getting from your vendors are quite portable. But the infra underneath is very rigid, and that needs to change. So when you talk about a cloud smart architecture, this particular slide is probably, what you need to be looking at, right? And I'll be sharing this with I think it's already with the hosts, and they should be able to share links later on, right? Sawa. Now for the next thing. Oops. Yep. None of that is me. None of that is anybody I personally know. But can anybody tell me one common thing across these 4 people that you see on stage today? Or rather, these on the screen? Any hands? One common thing. And it's okay. Yeah, one common thing? Seriously. Sorry? They are smiling. Anything else? So here's the deal. This person does not exist.com. Go to that website. That website will generate pictures of people that do not exist. They are artificially generated images, right? That's the power of generative AI. Look at those people. You would never think that's a computer-generated person, right? And you can test this for yourself. You go to that website and check it out. This person does not exist.com. Not now, badai, please, eh? Yeah. So that brings me to my second bit, which is generative AI. You need to be considering Gen AI in everything that you're doing right now if you want a head start against your peers in the industry, right? So, I mean, AI has been there for a long time, to be very honest with you, right? But it was very targeted. You know, you needed to have people that know how to operate it, and you know, it was primarily run by, or rather not run by, but used by data scientists, right? Guys who know, you know, or rather whose primary job is just artificial intelligence, using AI models, specialized AI models, etc., right? But now it's becoming more and more pervasive. And why do I say that, right? So on the screen, you see two graphs. These two graphs are for two companies that are central to artificial intelligence today. They provide the backbone of computing that's needed to get to, you know, that AI uses. Broadcom, which by the way acquired VMware yesterday, as I told you, and NVIDIA. NVIDIA, you know, develops GPUs primarily, but it does a lot more things as well. And over the last 1 year, you look at their stock price, right? The markets don't lie, right? Why has their stock price increased so significantly over the last 1 year? Broadcom has increased nearly 100%, NVIDIA by 221%. If you had put in $1 in NVIDIA, or rather $100 in NVIDIA, you know, a year ago, you'd have $221 today. So, and if you look at it, the spike came around about the same time, in mid-2023. That's when people started realizing the power of generative AI and how these companies were so crucial, you know, to enterprises using generative AI. Not just, again, I repeat, not just specialized use cases for AI. We're talking about mass market AI. A lot of people have already started using ChatGPT. That's an example of Gen AI, right? So, you know, that explains, you know, a lot as to where the market is headed today. Your customers expect it. The customers are already starting to think about, okay, you know, how is my bank using Gen AI to serve me better, right? You're starting to use it at a much larger scale, and everybody's using it today, right? But what nobody tells you, okay, I'll come to that later on. I talked about generative AI, but what preceded generative AI? What preceded generative AI was specialized AI. I talked about that as well, you know, in that you have, Kelly, could I have somebody do, I mean, it's showing me, it's going to power off the screen. I don't know if there's a remote or something that can be used to press any key to cancel. Is there one there?
Yeah, that's fine. You keep going.
Yeah, all right, fine. So, you know, predictive AI has been there for quite some time, you know, and if you look at the world's largest supercomputers, they use predictive AI quite often, you know, to do what they do. Generative AI is the next stage. Predictive AI led to generative AI. Predictive AI uses specialized AI models. So, you know, anybody who wants to use predictive AI primarily in the past used to build their own AI model, right? Whereas generative AI uses large language models, models that ingest a lot of, you know, natural language data and learn from it. And your interaction with that AI model is also based on natural language processing, right? And it's primarily accessed through APIs. The market for that is estimated to be $4.4 trillion of annual economic value, right? This is a lot less money than the guys who tried to con somebody juicy. You saw that? 200 and something trillion dollars? Yeah? Clearly, we know better as Kenyans. Anyways, every industry today is running to start using Gen AI, right? You got your finance, your retail, telco, everybody's using it globally. And if you are not, you have to start using it, right? The thing is, how do you use it? How can you keep your data private? How can you keep your models private to yourself? And that's the single biggest challenge of Gen AI today, is that what sort of architecture do I use to ensure that my models, my data remains private? And this new concept coming up called private AI. A private AI approach pretty much is an architectural approach that gives you the benefit of using large language models and gives you the business gains of AI, but while at the same time not compromising on privacy, right? And this is sort of the next big frontier for enterprises to adopt artificial intelligence, generative AI, right? It addresses all your key requirements, right? From a cost perspective, it gives you a lot of choice, etc., and it manages primarily also to keep you compliant to maybe any data residency laws you might have, etc., right? So everybody tells you, use Gen AI, use Gen AI. How do you use it, right? What does the reference architecture for Gen AI look like, for private AI look like, right? So first, you need to use the same concept of cross-cloud services that I mentioned earlier, right? You need to ensure that your architecture, if you want to go down this route, right, your architecture is one that can run across any environment, right? You can, as of today, even run AI platforms, AI models, and AI frameworks in your own data center, should you wish to, right? So you need to have this single, pane of glass management, a single layer of compute, a single, of consumption of that environment, right? And above it, there's the framework that you can use. You can use Ray, you can use Kubeflow, PyTorch, whatever you wish. And then above it is where you run your large language models. Falcon, Llama, Hugging Face, these are all large language models. So Watson is one from IBM. I think Llama is the one from Facebook, from Meta, etc. Hugging Face is one that I think is more focused on ethical AI, right? So there's lots of options out there that you can look at and start using, right? But remember, the key is do not forego on your ability to make that, those AI workloads portable, right? So make sure that whatever you're doing is able to run across any environment that you have, right? Now, finally, how do you get outcome focused? How many minutes do I have?
You're over time.
Already?
Yes.
All right, okay. So, all right, I'll be quick with this one now. So, Moses, I think, mentioned about this earlier, and maybe in a different vein, but you need to start building an outcome-focused roadmap. Whatever you do, whatever it is, whatever your objectives are, make sure it is outcome-focused. Make sure your IT objectives align to your business objectives, right? That's the only way you're going to get board sign-off or management sign-off for anything that you want to do. If you do not align to business objectives, sorry, you're not going to get there, right? And generally you've got three key types of profiles for IT organizations. One is you're an infrastructure provider, right? Your primary focus is to drive efficiency, cut down cost, right? A lot of people are in this stage. I'll be very honest. I deal with a lot of customers, with a lot of organizations. A lot of organizations are in this stage right now. They're just an infrastructure provider to the business. As your relationship with the business increases, and you can see over here to move to your right, you become a business partner. And in a business partner, your primary objective is to accelerate innovation. Right? You're thinking about, okay, hold on, I'm not worried about saving money anymore. It's more about how do I, make the business a bit more profitable, right? How do I accelerate innovation to make that happen? And finally, the peak of that is you're now a purely digital enterprise, right? So your relationship to the business becomes more and more critical as you move to the right, all right? And most organizations, as of today, I'll be honest with you, are pretty much on the left, right? Your objectives, as I mentioned earlier, you can see them. The primary objective, on the left is more about saving money. On the right is more about making money. Now, how do you get there? How do you move from left to right? Right? And this is what an outcome-focused roadmap is, that you need to be looking at building, right? As an example. So on the left, you see, on the lower left, virtual infrastructure is what pretty much everybody uses today, right? You provision infrastructure for your users, and that's it, right? As you go up on that theme of infrastructure provider, you want to say, I want to develop a hybrid cloud, and beyond that, to be able to run off a hybrid, a private cloud and then a hybrid cloud, right? And then as you move to the right, you start saying, okay, I want to develop an infrastructure as a service, or a PaaS for that matter. So as you can see, each one of those, you need to start looking at what are my competencies. Everything in white there is what is called a competency, right? You need to start looking, okay, how do I build this competency? Competency is like a certification, if you think about it that way, right? Now, within each competency, you have mandatory capabilities. These are tick boxes that you must have that you say, okay, now I'm certified over here, right? So, for example, in the private cloud competency, you might think, okay, I need a self-service portal, I need to provide a certain amount of resiliency, and I need to provide, automate my workload provisioning. You need to even double-click on each one of those capabilities as well. And it's there that the whole people, process, technology comes into place. A lot of people look at it the other way around and say, okay, I'm going to put people, process, technology first and then define everything from there. No. You need to start looking at the bigger picture and then drill down more into how do I address my people, my process, my technology for each particular capability that I want to develop as of today, right? So essentially, this will help you build what is called an outcome-focused roadmap. Your outcome-focused roadmap, you can say, I just want to remain an infrastructure provider, but I want to move up into hybrid cloud. That's fine as well. You can say, I want to move into infrastructure as a service, for which you need private cloud. Last slide, right? Or, whichever way. So look for a partner who can help you build that outcome-focused roadmap for your organization and for your business. Sawa. To summarize, mambo ni matatu. Cloud smart, start using Gen AI, and build an outcome-focused roadmap. Sawa. Mambo ni ma? Nobody has to die over here. It's just these three. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.